Andrew asked me to do this, I hadn't realized the significance of the date of the weekend. Tomorrow would be Eddie Plank's 150th birthday. He was born on August 31st, 1875. And for those of us who know something else about why this town is famous, that's 12 years after the Battle of Gettysburg. Imagine the town that he grew up in. Imagine how the town had changed. Well, how it changed for his parents. Grew up on a farm near here, went to Gettysburg Academy, played for Gettysburg College, went to the major leagues, and became really one of the greatest baseball players of all time. 326 wins as a pitcher. After all these years, that's still third all time among left-handed pitchers in the entire history of the major leagues. He's in the top 15 of all pitchers who ever played. You look at some of the name of that list, most wins, there's some really famous names behind Eddie Plank's. And Ty Cobb said that he was the best left-handed pitcher he had ever played against. We have a big weekend here to honor Eddie. Ken Burns' baseball movie will be this afternoon. Tomorrow, a couple of events. Going to dedicate a plaque to Eddie outside the building. Early afternoon, we have a program with Lawrence Knorr, who literally wrote the book on Eddie Plank. And he'll be joined by Edward Plank III, Eddie's grandson, who I just met, who'll be with him. I think, I'm pretty sure Edward Plank III doesn't pay for any meals at Gettysburg Eddie's. At least he shouldn't. But today we have a special panel. Born in Pennsylvania, Eddie Plank was a guy from small town Pennsylvania who made the major leagues. So we have three guys who are from the state, some of them from really close to here, who played in the major leagues. We're going to talk to them about their careers and all their accomplishments and get you in kind of the Eddie Plank baseball mode. The first, I'll bring them up one by one. First is, start with the youngest guy, Cody Eppley. He's from Dillsburg, played 12 years of pro ball, 3 in the majors with the Yankees and the Rangers, was a pitcher like Eddie Plank, and played as recently as 2019, so it hasn't been that long since he was on the diamond. Jeff Manto is from Bristol, played 9 years in the majors with a number of teams, Orioles, Red Sox, Yankees, 16 years of pro ball. Jeff, and he then got into coaching and some other duties. He's had an almost 40-year career in baseball, and he runs the Manto Player Development Center in Bristol. So we're glad to have you here, Jeff. And Sid Bream from Mount Holly, played 12 years in the majors, 2 great stints with the Atlanta Braves and Pittsburgh Pirates, hit almost 100 major league home runs. Really good player. But I don't know if I have a score to settle, but I have to start with asking Sid a question because he lives in Pittsburgh, but he authored, when he was playing for the Atlanta Braves, the single play that sentenced the Pittsburgh Pirates to 30 years of misery, which they're still in. It was the 1992 National League Championship Series. The Pirates had not been in the World Series since 1979, and they still have not been in the World Series since 1979. They have a chance to go. They're actually winning Game 7 going into the last inning. The Braves rally. Sid is on second base as the potential go-ahead run. And as those of us in Pittsburgh who had tickets to the World Series like I did, we're not all that worried because for all his skills, we'll get to that shirt later, sir. For all his skills, speed at that point in his career was not one of them. He had multiple knee surgeries. So it's going to take an extra base hit, and the player named Francisco Cabrera gets a single into left field. And then, if you watch the YouTube video, and I watched it just the other day, the announcer has that haunting phrase to those of us in Pittsburgh, "Here comes Bream." Sid beat the throw by literally a millisecond. There's a great photo of it. Somebody's holding up of the slide, known as the slide. It's famous in Atlanta, not so famous in Pittsburgh. It is hung, though, in one Pittsburgh house. Naturally, that's the place. So, Sid, first, before we get started with all this stuff and Eddie Plank and everything, can you talk a little bit about like that? Living in Pittsburgh, but to be kind of at one point being a villain.
Well, first of all, thank you. Thank you for coming out today. And I don't know how many of you all live in the Gettysburg area, but you live in a beautiful place. I love your history, and it's an honor for me to be up here with these two guys as well as Tommy, and just to be able to talk about baseball a little bit. But, you know, again, truthfully, the reason that I'm here, and I share when I go out and speak, I said most individuals become obsolete 5 years after they get out of their sport. Other than their friends and family know him, but I was involved with a play that I probably shouldn't have been involved with. Bobby Cox was definitely having a brain cramp, leaving me out at second base. I mean, I had a bad knee. I was as slow as molasses at that point in time, but as I share with a lot of individuals, and I'll get to your question here in just a little bit. But at the same time, I mean, as I share with people, I mean, they had a huge race between Damon Berryhill, our catcher, and myself. I mean, a high stakes race. And, who bet on me but Bobby Cox? I mean, he put $20 on me. That was big back then. And I blew Damon Berryhill away, but I also have to tell people, I said I got beat by Deion Sanders as well in a race. And I mean, but he was running backwards when I was running forwards. But that play by far has kept me around the game of baseball, going on 33 years now. It's still remembered, still in the top 5, if not, or top 10, if not the top 5 most exciting plays in Major League Baseball history. And a lot of people just ask me, I mean, what was going through your head? And I said, and I'm sure these guys will just explain, say the same thing. You're just taught over the years, this is what you got to do. There's 2 outs. A lot of people said that Jimmy Williams was holding me up. I don't know. To this day, I've never seen a video of Jimmy Williams rounding me, coming to home. But you're just taught. You put the pressure on the defense, and thankfully, I was quick enough to get 4 inches onto the plate. I know you Pittsburgh fans here still think I'm out, but at this point in time, but just think about today. All that impromptu excitement that was in Fulton County Stadium at that time. What would have happened? Jim Leland would have thrown out the flag or said, we want this reviewed. 4 minutes, 5 minutes would have passed. And then they would have said you were safe. And now you got to try to erupt again. So you'll never, ever see that in the game of baseball anymore. I mean, it's with replay, it's always going to be reviewed, and it'll never be an impromptu type of an excitement anymore.
And there is, because of that, and Sid knows this, I saw a T-shirt out there. There's a T-shirt sold in Pittsburgh that says, Sid Bream ruined my childhood.
I mean, 32 years after the event, I mean, I got a guy putting a shirt, and I don't even get royalties for it.
You may have to sign that today. Maybe the first shirt that you sign. But I want to talk a little bit, you guys came long after Eddie Plank, but I want to talk about the path that he had and then the path that you had in more modern baseball. Eddie came to baseball very late, played, took it up as a teenager, didn't get to the majors till his mid-20s. He went straight from the Gettysburg College team to the Philadelphia Athletics. You couldn't do that today. Your paths were much more challenging. There's so much more super scouting here, and you played in slightly different eras. Cody, can you just start from a kid who played Little League in Dillsburg? How did you get to the major leagues?
So yeah, I mean, I grew up in Dillsburg, played all through high school, was lucky enough to have the opportunity to go and play in college down at Virginia Commonwealth University. Grinded out there through 4 years, and then was lucky enough that someone liked something I did well on a mound, and had the opportunity to get drafted and go play in Texas, and grinded all through the minor leagues from anywhere from long bus rides to being cramped in a bus or hotel rooms all over to just kind of feeling like I got the lucky break bounces here and there and get the opportunity to get called up, which was, again, middle of the night, got called off the bus and told, hey, I was, when I get back to the clubhouse, I got to pack up my stuff because I got to drive up to Dallas. So it was definitely a grind and a long process, and some weeks felt like years. So
I was good. Do you ever, with that, A, AA, AAA back bouncing around, did you ever lose faith? Did you ever think, I might not get there?
There were, like I said, there were definitely weeks, if not sometimes months, that it just felt like there is no end in sight. I never lost faith or thought that I'd couldn't make it to that level. But there were definitely, they always say like the dog days of summer. There were days or weeks that it just like, I don't know if we're ever getting out of this, as a club too. So.
I think in baseball with the different levels, rookie league, A, double A, triple A, you know how good you have to be just to make Class A baseball? And most of those guys never make it to the major league. So it's really incredible to endure that grind and make it. It's not just your talent. Talent gets you there, but it's more than that. Jeff, I know you also played college baseball. Were drafted out of high school, I believe. Didn't sign. Went to college. Were drafted, but starting in Bristol. Can you just talk about your path? How you got to where you are today?
My path started in 1982. I graduated high school, and I was drafted by the New York Yankees as a pitcher. And I was not much of a pitcher. I was more of a thrower. And I remember getting a full scholarship to go to Temple University.
That's what we're seeing today a lot.
Yeah, I would have made a lot of money today. I went to Temple University as a pitcher, and I really wasn't used to that PO thing that they call it today, because for 4 years in high school I played varsity sports, and it never stopped. As most of us know, that it went from baseball season right into football season, right into basketball season. I remember in high school, as soon as you played the Thanksgiving Day game, you were at basketball practice, Thanksgiving night. So that PO thing didn't work well with me. And then my sophomore year at Temple, I had enough courage to ask, at the time, Skip Wilson, who was probably the third winningest college coach in baseball, and I had the courage to tell him, "Hey, listen, Skip, I'm not really a pitcher. I don't like this thing. Could you give me a chance to play shortstop?" Because our senior shortstop had left, and he looked at me as if I was crazy, and that was really, really serious. So he said, "Okay, well, let me hit you some ground balls and let you take some batting practice," and things just worked out well there. I was kind of lucky in the sense to where when I was a sophomore, then I finally turned into an outfielder. My sophomore year, and I pitched a little bit, and that didn't pitch much more. I was fortunate enough to where when I was playing at Temple, I was surrounded. I hit like sixth at Temple because I had guys, the first 5 guys were being looked at by Major League scouts. And at the time, we were in the Atlantic 10, and we were playing the Big East. So all of our non-conference games were against other colleges and universities who also had Major League prospects, the Mo Vaughn, Jack Armstrongs, the Jeff Kunkles, the John Valentins. And so all of a sudden, I got recognized just by riding somebody else's coattail. So things worked out for me out of college, and I got a chance to sign with the California Angels. And from the California Angels, I went to Davenport, Iowa. Has anybody heard of Davenport, Iowa? Whew! And I've never been so homesick in all my life. It was talk about the grind. Cody's talking about the grind. Absolutely grind. And contrary to what Cody said, I thought after my first at bat, I'd never have a chance to hit this thing. So that's my story up to A-ball.
Okay. How about beyond there?
Oh yeah. So then
there?
after A-ball, I thought to myself, I'm in Davenport, Iowa. The clubhouses are concrete. The 2 showers out of 8 work. It's cold water. That typical minor league setting was true for me. After that, I just kept on playing and playing. I really didn't know what I was doing until one day I got in front of a guy named Ken Ravizza, who was a sports psychologist at the time. He's since passed, and he introduced me to us with the Angels to this imagery and visualization. And as you know, your parents, you have to figure out when you're coaching, you have to figure out how can these players learn? Are they visual? Are they audio? And for me, this changed my career. When I found out the imagery and how to figure things out and how to see it before it happens, because as you guys know, baseball players are absolutely miserable people because all we do is fail. And you can't get those bad times out of your way. So like Cody said, you grind it out, man. You just keep grinding and grinding. And then an opportunity happened in 1990 where Keith Hernandez had gotten hurt. I was at the Cleveland Indians at the time. He had gotten hurt, and they were looking for a first baseman to come up in 1990, and that was my break.
All you do is fail. You always hear a batter who hits 300 has made out 7 times out of 10. You fail a lot more than you succeed. Sid, your path again. You play some college baseball as well. How'd you get from Mount Holly to college to the majors?
I went from Mount Holly Springs, where I did well. I mean, I was just at the football game last night. Carlisle got crushed by Cumberland Valley. But I was just at the football game last night, and there's the baseball field, and I was commenting to my sister that in high school we didn't have a fence. And so if you were, I don't know which side it would be, the east side, west side, but if you were on the Carlisle side, there was used to be an asphalt where you got to the ticket line, and just on the other side there was a little groove where the water would go down through, and it was about probably 380 to 400 feet from home plate, and that's where people used to play me. I mean, and so I couldn't hit home runs there because of I had to hit balls into the gap, and they had to roll in order for me to hit home runs. But if I would have had the fence that we had there then, or they have now, I mean, I don't know how many home runs I would have hit. But that's it. Started there. Had a great time in high school. I went to Liberty Baptist College down in Lynchburg, Virginia. Now it's Liberty University. They were NAIA back then. Hit 435 all three. I averaged 435 all 3 years at Liberty. Got drafted by the Los Angeles Dodgers in the second round of the June draft, and started off in Vero Beach baseball. I hit over 300 every year in minor league baseball, and I went from single A in 1981 for half the season. Started off in 1982. I started in Vero Beach, Florida, which was single A. Jumped up to double A in San Antonio that year, and at the end of the year, I moved up to triple A. And so I had a real fast, getting to the place where my next step was the big leagues. Hit 32 home runs, 119 RBIs, and hit 310 in 1983 for triple A. Things were going great, but as these guys understand, you can put up all the numbers, but if they don't have a place for you, you're not going to get up there. And 1985, I started in the big leagues because Greg Brock, the first baseman for the Dodgers, was hurt. We had a thing called the Freeway Series against the Anaheim Angels and the Dodgers. I was the MVP of that series. Went into the year and was leading the team in home runs and RBIs, and Greg Brock got better, and I went back down to Triple A, and and so that's the way it works. And I tell people, humanly speaking, I wasn't going to play for the Dodgers because Tommy Lasorda loved Greg Brock, and Al Campanis loved Franklin Stubbs that was coming right behind me. And you probably remember Franklin. You're young, Cody. You're young. Maybe you don't know Franklin, but had a great career. But like these guys said, I mean, when that happened to me in 1985, I mean, I was ready to quit. I said, man, what do I have to do to get to the big leagues? I mean, what more do I have to do to get to the big leagues? And thankfully, I had a wife at the time. I mean, I still have my wife. But thankfully, she said, at least stick it out to the end of this year. And in August of that year, I got traded over to the Pittsburgh Pirates, and my career started at that point.
Such a different grind. I was thinking when I was reading some of the things about Eddie Plank. So there was so much scouting then. I don't know how teams found players back then. Eddie was a guy, again, he didn't play till his teenage years. He went to Gettysburg Academy. He actually didn't attend Gettysburg College. He went to Gettysburg Academy, they think, so he could play for the college team. They kind of recruited him to play at the lower school to do that. And then, as the story as Lawrence North tells in the book, his manager or coach at Gettysburg College knew Connie Mack and said, the great Connie Mack said, you ought to take a look at this guy. Connie Mack did take one look, and obviously he went straight to the majors. But it's such a different path. Eddie did sign 1 year with a minor league team, but the team went defunct, so he never played a minor league game. He went straight from the Gettysburg College team to the major leagues. A different story than what these guys had to face. Another thing was mentioned a little earlier about how the game has changed, and we'll talk about that a little more. But when you look at Eddie's pitching stats, he pitched more than 600 major league games. He started 529 games. He had 410 complete games. Now, if one player gets one complete game, it's a headline, and they stop SportsCenter. The game has in 1905 for the Philly Athletics. Eddie started 41 games, completed 35. He went 24-12, so he completed some games that he lost. It's such a different philosophy. Cody, you were a pitcher, so I'll throw this to you first. The game has changed so much now. I mean, guys go maybe 5, 6, 7 innings. There are pitch counts for protecting arms. Talk a little bit about just how that has evolved coming up before you played and then since then.
Yeah, so, before I remember when I was growing up watching baseball highlights on TV, you'd always see starting pitchers go, 7 innings or, a quality start, I think, used to be, get into the 7th inning. Now I think it's quality start if you get through 5 innings, which is a shame. But I remember when I got drafted by Texas, they were, I believe at the time, were actually owned by Major League Baseball because the owner, Tom Hicks, I think, was going through some financial issues. So after my first year, Nolan Ryan's group came in and bought it. And then Nolan Ryan became president of baseball operations. And I remember one of the first things he put in was no pitch counts for starting pitchers. And his basic philosophy was we're going to run guys out there until we feel like, as a pitching coach or as a coaching staff, you don't look like you're being effective. So if it's, if you throw 2 innings and you're not being effective, we'll yank you. But if you're out there and you're in the 7th inning, you've thrown 112 pitches and you're still getting guys out, his philosophy was we're just going to keep rolling you. And there was no pitch count or anything. And now you just look at the way it's gone. And I mean, it's like I said, if a starting pitcher gets you 5 innings, it's you're lucky, or 6 innings you're lucky, I think. And I think that's too maybe a little bit why you see so much turmoil in bullpen guys, because I think, like was mentioned already, there's not really this art of pitching anymore. It's just I'm going to grab as many guys that can throw as hard as they can, and we're going to run them out there. And then if they're not effective, we'll send them down and bring somebody back next up. So that's for me, that's sad to see, because again, I was a sidearm submarine sinker ball pitcher who, I really had to kind of be a master of what I did to get guys out. So it was kind of like an art for me. And I don't feel like that's how baseball and pitching has gone now. So that is sad. So, it's just sad that you don't see guys or, have these stats of complete games anymore. It's just not something. Now it's, spin rate or strikeouts or all the analytics side of things. I have a college buddy who his name is Justin Orndorff. He was, I think, a first rounder by the Dodgers before I got to school, but I'd met him at VCU, and he got hurt a lot in his minor league career, and so he got into basically arm mechanics and everything after he got done playing, and created this program to kind of mirror and look at what causes arm issues and things like that and everything. But he had put a stat out at the beginning of the year. He pulled a game from everywhere, from every major league game all the way to every minor league game, and at the beginning of the year in like May, and I think not one starting pitcher went more than 5 1/3 innings. So that's just amazing to me that not one guy at that point has gone that far. So
I have a guy who pitched 410 complete games. Jeff,
Yeah.
you said you started as a pitcher or a thrower. You played a long time, and now you run a development center. What's your perspective on that? How that's gone with pitch counts and protecting arms and things like
Well,
that?
I'll tell you, it's obviously the game changes because maybe it has to change. But as far as what's going on with the hitting is all or nothing. I mean, every swing today is a 3-0 swing, and there's no ability to learn how to hit. Sid had alluded to hitting 300. I don't think people realize just how hard hitting 300 is. We look at it, and Sid said he hit 300 10 times, and he said it like it was nothing. What hitting 300 10, 15 times is not easy. It is extremely tough. And what people don't realize is that I'll speak for myself. I don't know how you were as a young player. I could never run. So it was not an infield hit. I wasn't getting infield hits. and to the 2 or 3 times I hit 300. You have to be ready. You got to be ready to bang. You got to be ready to have some instincts. I don't think there's any instincts today. I know the guys they study the stats and what's going to come, what this pitcher throws in this count. But I think what's happening, the coaches and the analytics today are taking away the instincts. And I know playing for myself and being a back-end pinch hitter, if I'm facing a left-hander, I'm not looking for a pitch inside. So I have to learn how to live on the outside part of the plate, look on the outside part of the plate, and vice versa. But that's not there today. It's swing as hard as you can. Every swing is a 3-0 swing, and it's not even fun to watch. I think 2 years ago or 3 years ago there was a record number of foul balls because people are swinging so fast. It's all or nothing and missing it. And it's not. I know these guys are putting up some big numbers, but they're not pure hitters. They're bangers, and it's I don't know if it's a shame or not, but it's way different.
So what are you now kind of teaching philosophy at the Manto Center? What do you tell young players?
We're just trying to teach people what their body looks like and what their body could do. I mean, I'm not trying to, everybody that walks in the Manto Player Development Center, I look at their body, look where their body's going to go, and teach them how they can be successful. You will have some big guys in there with slow bats and think, I'm a home run hitter. No, you're really not. And you have these other guys with short arms, short legs, and they were looking for the ball outside. You can't reach it. So everybody that comes through is treated differently. And we try to tell them, hey, this is what you should look for. This is where you should look over the plate and things like that. So it's no other philosophy other than whoever walks in, we try to make that person better.
Sid, I know you weren't a pitcher, but you played a long time, follow the game, and being in Pittsburgh, you know what's happened with Paul Skeens, the best, certainly the best young pitcher, if not the best pitcher in baseball, but he was on a pitch count, things like that. What's your view of all this?
Well, I mean, I think all these guys will agree. Analytics, when analytics come into the game, I mean, it just has changed everything about the game of baseball, and it's also about money. I mean, you always follow the money. I mean, and they think, man, I can't have a pitcher go over 100 pitches because he's going to ruin his arm. I've got so much money invested in him. I can't, let him hurt his arm and so on and so forth. But, as these guys have alluded to, I mean, the pitchers are nothing but throwers now. You might get your best pitch 0-2, 1-2 because they don't know how to get you out. Back when we played, I mean, good grief, you got to 1-2, 0-2, your chances of getting a hit were slim because guys knew. And I'm not saying every pitcher was like this, but I mean, when you think about, a John Smoltz, a Tommy Glavine, a Greg Maddux that I played for, a Steve Avery, Roger Clemens. I mean, these guys, when you got to 0-2, I mean, they were not going to give you something on the plate in order for you to hit. But if you watch it today, I mean, I watched so many guys that they just rear back and throw and thinking that 97, 98 mile an hour fastball, get it past them, and but it's right down the middle of the plate. And, I remember John Smoltz telling me, Leo Mazzoni, his pitching coach, told him at one point in time, he said, you throw hard enough, just throw your fastball over the plate. They won't hit it. Well, he found out you're going to get hit. And, so it is, you get ahead. I mean, like they've been taught all along. I mean, Cody's been taught you get ahead and then you start making them try to hit your pitches. And today it's just rear back and throw, spin rates and all those types of things. And as Jeff was talking about, it's launch angle, all this launch angle. So your bat's not in the strike zone a whole lot, and at the same time, all these guys are starting their swings from back here instead of getting their hands going forward, keeping it on the plane of the baseball, and you're seeing record numbers of strikeouts. That but that's what they say fans want. I mean, I remember Dan Ugla and one of the other players for the Braves went into Freddie Gonzalez down in Atlanta. They were hitting a $182 with 20 home runs, and they went into his office, and Freddie was basically saying, hey, you got to pick it up. And Freddie told me, he said, they both looked at him and said, what? I'm doing good. I got 20 home runs. And I'm sitting there thinking, you got to be kidding. The mentality of some of these players today, they hit their 20, 25 home runs, and they think they're good, but they struck out 250 to 300 times. And, if I would have done that, I mean, again, These guys are hitting 220 today and getting monster contracts for hitting 20, 25 home runs. And I'm saying, something's wrong here. Something's absolutely wrong. And I mean, the game of baseball has to change in that regard. I mean, they need to start with hitters to start getting them going down through the ball. And I mean, and that's what we grew up learning, Jeff, right? We grew up learning, you pinch the baseball, you get the backspin, and the ball takes off. And nowadays these guys are McGuires and Jeff Bagwells that are swinging up on the ball, and they strike out a lot, but they're satisfying. They're getting their 20, 25 home runs, and that's the game of baseball today.
Eddie Plank would have said, saving my arm, and you maybe pitched 410 complete games.
You're talking about Paul Skeens. I mean, he's, as you stated, I mean, he finally got up to 500 because of how bad Pittsburgh is. But at the same time, how many games does he go? He only goes 5 innings so many times out of the game because he's trying. And that's the other thing with pitchers. I mean, pitchers a lot of times back then were pitch to contact, and so they might only throw 1, 2, 3 pitches an inning or to a batter. And today, good grief, they're all trying to strike everybody out, and so they're going to a 3-2 count and so many hitters. And that your pitch total goes up, and they're only into the game 5 innings. If they played a little bit more of a pitch to contact, dotting things and so on and so forth, I mean, it would change the game a little bit as far as how many innings pitchers could pitch.
I remember when I was with Texas, my pitching coach Mike Maddox, who he told me, he asked me, do you know what the best inning you could have as a pitcher? And I looked at him. And again, me being a sinker ball, I had a little maybe an advantage, but I said 3 pitches. If I can throw 3 pitches and get 3 outs and walk off the mound, I'm happy. And that's the best. You say immaculate inning, 9 pitches, 3 strikeouts. That's great. But if I can do it in a third of that, I'm walking out. Some of the best. Some of my fondest memories were coming into relieve into a game to relieve it, and I throw 1 pitch and get a ground ball and I'm out, and I'm walking off and my day's done. I'm like, this is awesome.
Talking about getting to the major leagues and playing that first game, it was a little different for Eddie Plank. One of the legends is that Connie Mack came to see him play and took him to Philadelphia. And he went into a game the first day he was in Philadelphia. He pitched. That's what happened. It's different now. You guys have all talked about the grind, how long it takes. That first major league game, Cody, you alluded to it just a little bit about getting that call, had to be incredibly special. Can you just go, each of you, just go through what that feeling was like, that experience to finally, having come from Little League, I've now finally made it in the majors?
Yeah. So like I mentioned earlier, we were driving. I was in Round Rock in AAA, and we were driving back from Oklahoma City, middle of the night, stopped at a gas station and called off the bus and said, hey, when you get back, you got to pack your stuff up because you got to drive back to Dallas. And I said, well, can't you just drop me off? I got everything I need right here. We're passing right through it. But got up there, got there early before anyone else because, I had nowhere else to go. I'm just going right to the ballpark. The whirlwind and kind of being in a little bit of shell shock of, wow, I'm in a big league stadium, I'm a big league clubhouse. Like, this is amazing. And I remember getting dressed, getting ready for the game out there early, and I'm sitting in the bullpen with the guys, and Darren O'Day, who was one of my mentors, comes up to me and goes, hey, just soak it all in, just enjoy the moment. He goes, there's no way you're pitching tonight. Just enjoy it. And I'm like, okay, I'll take his word for it. And here, 7th inning rolls around, phone rings, and I'm the first one up. And it's like, oh, here we go. So I got thrown into I think it was a 3-1 ball game in the 7th, and through the 7th, and I thought, I'm walking off, I'm like, big sigh, like, okay, I got out of this, no runs, I'm happy. And I'm walking in, and Mike Maddox, my pitching coach, goes, all right, you got another one. It's like, okay, here we go. So, sit down and quick inning, thankfully, so I didn't have to sit there and think of my thoughts and everything. And then, go back out there the 8th, and it's like I'm done, and it's like I'm done, and I'm sitting in the dugout, and I'm looking around to some of the starting pitchers. I'm like, okay, well, what do I do now? I have no idea. This is, and they're like, dude, you just throw 2 shutout innings in your major league debut. Do whatever you want. I'm like, you can leave. I don't care. So that was my experience. But I remember my first time in AAA. When I finally got called up, and one of my bullpen mates, Willie Ayer, told me, he goes, hey, if you ever get called up, he goes, before you do anything, just after you finish your warm-ups, just take a step off the mound and just kind of look around, because he goes, you'll never have another moment like that again in your life, where you just like, I finally made it kind of thing. So that was my big experience.
Do you have a photo of that game? Did somebody get a photo?
I have a photo of me on the mound in my office at work, behind my desk. So yeah, my major league debut. Yeah.
Jeff, you talked about some of the minor league experience, Davenport, Iowa, showers that don't work. What was your experience the first time you get called up?
My first experience, I was in Colorado Springs, and Bobby Molinaro calls me in his office and tells me, hey, congratulations, you're going to the big leagues. And he looked at me, he goes, I don't know why they called you. And so it kind of took the sting, took the enjoyment out of it. But then I come out of the clubhouse, and I'm obviously really excited, but I'm not trying to act up in front of all the players and try to be too proud. And so when I get back to my apartment, I call my parents, and everybody's obviously excited, and it was just like a dream come true type thing. It was you feel like you're walking on air. So I didn't know why. Like I alluded to earlier, I went up for Keith Hernandez because Keith Hernandez got hurt. My first experience was I took every suitcase I had. I packed everything up, and I think, I got called to the big leagues. I don't know what happens now, but I'm going to I guess I take all my luggage. So they saw me bring all the luggage in the clubhouse, and they all started laughing at me. He goes, man, you're only here for 15 days. So sure enough, I'm sitting in the dugout. I don't know if you guys, I know you know Tommy Brookins. Tommy Brookins is probably one of the funniest guys in baseball. And I opened up, or I played, my debut was at the old Cleveland Stadium. Now, if you guys have ever been there, I think this place holds 85,000, 90,000 people, and there might have been 3,000. So Tommy Brookins says, hey, man, congratulations for being sent down to the big leagues. And so I didn't hit. I pinch hit for Deion James, and I didn't hit at all. I didn't play at all. I went to the bullpen, and all I did was catch. And so, like most people think, you go to the big leagues, right? What's in the big leagues? Women, wine, and partying, okay? So growing up in a small town of Bucks County in Bristol, I was raised, and still am Catholic, and I was raised by the Trinitarian nuns, and they used to beat the absolute crap out of me. But when town, you never knew where the nuns went in the summertime, and you never saw them. And you ask, hey, where's Sister Mary Donald? I don't know. It's summertime. Where's Sister Christine? I don't know where she's at. So sure enough, they're in Steubenville, by the way, Ohio. We come back from a road trip, and they said, hey, Jeff, you are the quickest guy to figure this girl thing out. I said, what are you talking about? She goes, you better hurry up. There's 3 women waiting for you. They don't tell me. So I walk out, and I put a little extra, little squirt of cologne on. I walk out there, Sister Christine, Sister Donald, and Sister Mary, and they have a picture, they have my kindergarten picture, okay? And they're all showing, hey, look at Jeffrey, just our little Jeffrey. As all the players are walking out, they go, oh my God, I mean, this is too funny. So sure enough, every time when I played for Cleveland, I had to leave them tickets. We had this little Italian who she was difficult. So we had no say where the tickets were. Okay, and the next day I left them tickets for 2 consecutive nights. And the second night they came, Jeffrey, come here. You crazy. We sit close to God. We don't want to sit close to God. We want to be down here. So I faced Brian Dubois, my last time up, my 15th day in the big leagues. I got to a 3-2 count, and I thought to myself, I may not be back here again. So he has no idea that I'm swinging. Because if I walk, and that turned into Moonlight Graham, because I don't know if I'm going back. So he threw this ball about eye high. I swung at it. I struck out, and that was it. But at least I was 0 for 1.
Sid?
How do you top that, huh? But let me just first of all say, I mean, a lot of people, they see, you know, three of us up here sitting, they look at the, you know, players that get into the minor leagues, and right away they think, wow, these guys are making some bucks from right off the get-go. And can I just tell you that minor league baseball does not make a lot of money. You know, when I signed back in 1981, and again, things have changed dramatically as far as the signing bonuses, but I signed and I made $35,000 on my signing bonus, second round pick. I mean, today it would have been millions. But at the same time, I was paid $1,100 a month. You know, for 6 months out of the year, I got $11 a day meal money. And I don't know, good grief, Cody, I mean, it probably hadn't gone up a whole lot.
I think it was maybe 15 for a day for per diem.
Yeah.
And I remember when I got drafted, I went to Arizona League, and I was making $250 every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I felt $500 a month.
So I'm just saying, when, you know, so many people have the impression that, man, as soon as you get into, you know, baseball, man, you're making tons of money. As they were talking about grind, it's a grind. I mean, because you're playing for 6 months out of the year. I mean, and the reason that we go to winter ball is because we could make some better money playing winter ball, going down there. So, you know, please don't have that impression that because, man, we got drafted, we were making, man, that $35,000 went to a 280ZX. I mean, that was my sports car, and then I bought a ring for my wife, and it was gone. And but my first day in the big leagues, I mean, really wasn't anything like these guys because it was a September call-up. I mean, so there were multiple people going up in September. And so it really wasn't that special day in the course of a year. Hey, you're going to the big leagues and you're going to be playing. The thing that if you would like for about a minute here, I have my first hit, and I don't want you to think that I'm vain. It's I go out and do a lot of speaking, but I use this as far as my my introduction and so on and so forth. Vin Scully, the great announcer for the Dodgers. He introduced my first hit in Major League Baseball off of Tom Hume in Cincinnati. So if you would like, I'll play it for you. Yeah. And you guys can hear Vin Scully's voice and my first hit in Major League Baseball. Oh, I did it again.
He had a bone scan and an x-ray, and that it was a day-to-day proposition. And Landro is not capable, evidently, of even coming up to bat. So here is Sid Bream. He is 0 for 2 since being called up. Big left-hand hitting first baseman. He's batting for Howe. Line run at third, 2 out. Hume deals, and he is inside. Ball 1, 1-0. On deck, Steve Yeager. The next one to Bream is a line drive base hit. The ball game is even. Oh, does that have to be a thrill for a kid? A standing ovation for Sidney Eugene Bream, 23 years old, from Carlisle, Pennsylvania. He gets his first major league hit in the heat of a pennant race to tie up the game. Dave Anderson will run for him, and this crowd will go wild for Sid Bream.
Don't you guys be thinking about me. That's wrong. Thinking about me being pinch run for again because I was slow. But yes, I have the ball at home. Yes, absolutely, I do.
What a memory to have that called by. Not only that,
Absolutely,
to have it called by
and understand it. I had that on a cassette tape up in my office for years, and I didn't have a cassette player to play it. And finally, I found somebody that had a cassette player, and I put it on my phone. And like I said, I'm not trying to be vain. It's just when I go out and speak, I use that, and just something very, very neat. The other two at bats, I mean, before I got to that at bat was Steve Bedrosian struck me out on 3 pitches, swung at all 3 of them. I thought, how in the world did I miss it? But his ball evaded my bat. And I don't remember what the second one was, but I did tell Jeff my second hit in major leagues came off of somebody that you might understand, Nolan Ryan maybe. And so I cherished that one. I have that one up in my office as well. And so that was my introduction to Major League Baseball. But as I stated, that was 1983, and I still had 3 more years before I was actually full-time in the Major League Baseball. So a grind, as Cody was talking, it's a grind. And, there's days where you want to just pitch it in and go home and forget about it. And there's days, man, where you're just up here. I mean, and the people that do well in the game of baseball, you need to learn to adjust. And if you can't adjust, you're not going to do too well up in the big leagues.
Vince Kelly, beautiful. I will tell you that's all good though. But the announcement I still hear is, "Here comes Bream." So there talked about memories, not just your first game. I'm sure there are many of those, and there are quirky things that happen in sports. In reading the Gettysburg Eddie book, something that I didn't realize at the end, which I absolutely loved, found out that the great pitcher Randy Johnson used to sign in at hotels. He didn't want people to know Randy Johnson was there. They might call and bug him or harass him. He would sign in as Eddie Plank. And no one knew this other than his team, but he tweeted after his last game, "This is my final day at the hotel as Eddie Plank." But he said, first player to win 300 games. So he knew it. He was honoring Eddie Plank. And there was a story I heard in a video they did that Eddie had no quirks except he ate a can of tomato soup before every start. So that's why he had so many complete games. But were there quirky things, other memories other than your first game? You guys have told such great stories here today. I think we enjoy hearing them as you're reminiscing about your career today. I did enjoy seeing the 3 of these guys get together. So they move on to other things, but they get together with former players, and it brings it all back. Is there anything, Cody?
This is like a soap opera. I mean, you can watch a soap opera, and 20 years down the road, you haven't watched it for 20 years, and you can pick it right back up where it started. When you get around ball players, I mean, it's just story after story after story. I mean, and that's the fun part. We're a community, and it's fun.
I tell you, one of the funny stories I have is when I got called up at the end of the 1990 season. John McNamara called me in the office and said, "Listen, if you want to make this team next year, you have to go to instructional and learn how to catch." I said, "Okay, that's no problem." So sure enough, we go to spring training with the Indians. And Jesse Orozco is one of the pitchers on the team. Now, Jesse Orozco is a left-hander, 3-quarter guy. His sinker is filthy. His slider is filthy. Everything he throws is hard to catch. So I learned this by fire. I said, I'll get Orozco, easy lefty. No. Okay, so he threw a sinker one time, hit my shin guard. Okay, and so I could never physically catch his slider. I could not catch it. And so sure enough, go to spring training. He motions for a slider. He throws it. I miss it. He throws it. I miss it. So every time he threw a slider, I missed it. I make the team out of spring training. John McNamara says, "Listen, if you're not starting," I was a utility guy, "I want you to go down to the bullpen and help out the catchers." So sure enough, Jesse Roscoe gets up. I try to catch him. He throws a slider. I miss it. He throws a slider. I miss it. And I'm thinking, this is not good. This is not good. So later on that year, sure enough, I get a start. Sandy Alamar's hurt. Joel Skinner's hurt. So I have to catch. So I'm catching this guy named Sean Hilligus. Nice, easy guy. Right-hander, sinker, slider, split, curveball. Nothing going on all right. Nothing. All of a sudden, we start to win, which was unusual for us in 1991. We start to win, and McNamara starts to manage. And all of a sudden, out of the corner of my eye, I see Jesse Orozco getting loose. And I'm thinking to myself, this is not going to happen. This is not going to happen. So at the time, Jesse Orozco has about 11 years in the big leagues, a successful career. And I have, 31 days. And so he calls him in. I'm thinking, apparently nobody told McNamara that I can't catch Orozco. So sure enough, he comes in, and we got man on second base. It was tie score, about the 7th inning. And so I go down, I put 1. He says no. Okay? I put 2. He says no. I bypassed 3 because usually that's the slider. I went to the wiggle. He said no. He steps off. I'm like, baloney. 1. So he steps off, and he calls me out to the mound. Mind you, 11 years, probably a 4-time All-Star at the time. I got 31 days in the big leagues. I run out there. Yeah, Jess, what do you want? He goes, I want to throw the slider. I said, Jess, do you think that's a good pitch right now? He goes, looked at it, he goes, absolutely. So sure enough, I went 3. The ball went to the backstop. The guy got third base. Next pitch was a fastball, sac fly. We lost. Then we get to Baltimore. I'm with Jesse in Baltimore. Now I'm a catcher. I'm the third catcher again in Baltimore. And then we're in spring training, and he motions for a slider. At the time, now I had about 4 years in the big leagues. He has 15 years in the big leagues. I have somewhat. So I went at Jess time. So I called Jess. Do you remember that time in Cleveland? And he goes, yeah. I said, I can't catch your slider, brother. I can't catch your slider. Eliminate it. So that's it.
As usual, tough to top. Cody, anything that sticks out from your career, minors even?
I mean, there's a lot of stories I could probably tell, a lot that I probably can't tell as well. I mean, I think that I don't know, this isn't a story, but I think that, since I've gotten out of baseball, just talking about getting back together with these guys and again telling stories, that's probably what I miss the absolute most is not so much. I mean, I miss the game, but it's just being around the same group of guys for 9-10 months out of the year, it feels like, and just being around, and that being really your only family for the most part. That's what I miss, because you start telling one story and then another, and then it's like, oh yeah, you remember that, and it's like, oh yeah, and then it just kind of waterfalls into something else. So.
Our only concern today was getting these guys up here by 10 o'clock because they were telling stories. Sid, long career, though.
Let me just share one story with you when I was with the Pirates. I mean, when I went in 1986, they went with a youth movement. So we lost 103 ball games that year. Not a great year. 1980, Sid Thrift became our general manager, and he started making the changes to put people in spots. And 1987, we got a little bit better, and 1988, we were 1 game behind in August, again, behind the New York Mets. And we're playing the New York Mets, and we're winning 1-0 going into the last inning. And Jim Gott, our closer, they bring him into the game. And I think we have 1-2 outs. And Howard Johnson steps up to the plate. Prolific home run hitter, and Jim Leland comes out to the mound. We have our infield, everybody's on the mound, and Jim Leland looks at Jim Gott and he says, do not throw Howard Johnson a fastball. Got it, coach, got it. You hear me? Do not throw Howard Johnson a fastball. No problem, got it. Third time, do not throw Howard Johnson a fastball. Okay, got it, coach. He goes off the field, Spanky slider, shakes it off. Slider, shakes him off. Slider, shakes him off. Fastball. Threw the fastball, Howard Johnson hit it over the wall, and we lost that ball game, and from there we went downhill. And so, just the attitude of a closer. Nobody's going to tell you that you can't get somebody out with a fastball.
Yeah, I have one that I'll speak on, and this was 2012, and I was with New York, and this is the American League Championship Series, and we're playing Detroit, and tie game going into, I think it was the 8th inning, and I forget who, maybe Clay Rapado went out, didn't get anyone out. Next thing you know, Boone Logan goes out, doesn't get anyone out. At this point, boos start ringing down. Joe Girardi gets tossed over, all this. David Robinson goes out, doesn't get anyone out. So now I'm warming up in the bullpen, and this is one of these times where it's like you're thinking, I really don't want to go into this game. There's nothing I can do that's going to get anyone out at this point. And so, nope, phone rings, I'm going in. I get out to the mound. Tony Pena comes walking out, hands me the ball, goes, just get somebody out, turns around and walks off. That was it. So I was like, here's a lot of faith here. So.
Yeah, we always thought there was deep strategy. So, folks, not many opportunities to ask questions of former Major League players. Does anybody out there have any questions?
What happens when you're on the mound pitching and things aren't going so great? And going to baseball games and watching on TV, and you see the coach come out, to the mound, and there's like a huddle of people. Is it a positive conversation?
Yeah.
Or is it you better do what you're supposed to do or lose the game?
It could probably be a little bit of combination of of everything. I have had mound visits where it's like, hey, we're just coming out to give you a breather, just take a breath, or it's like, hey, we're coming out because you're done and we're stalling for the next guy to get loose. I remember I had I was in college, and I believe I gave up a hit, picked over to first, and got away from the first baseman, and the guy got to second. And here comes I'm standing at the bottom of the mound, and my college baseball, my manager comes out, and he's 5'7". He comes out to me, and he goes, get up on the mound. And I'm like, oh, this is not good. So I walk up on the mound, and he looks at me, he puts his finger in my chest and goes, I don't know why I ever recruited you. You're an embarrassment. You're an embarrassment to me, the program, and yourself. Turned around and walked off. So, and that was I was around the rest of the infield. So, they're just standing there like, wow, that's rough. So.
Just understand for, pitching coaches, they're supposed to know everything about their performance. And so as much as it sounds strange, just like a hitting coach, there might be something that a hitting coach will see that you're not doing the right thing. For a pitcher, somehow he just gets off track a little bit, and that pitching coach is supposed to understand what's going on. So he might go out there and just say, hey, your arm angle's a little bit low, your step's not good, or something to that degree to get him back on track as well. So I agree with what Cody said, but he's there in order to just watch him, and if something's not right as far as his technique, he's going to go out there and help him to get back on track.
Do guys argue that I shouldn't be taken out, and does it ever succeed? It looks like that goes on at times.
I've never seen it in person. I've seen it on TV and other times where it looks like it, and then normally the player doesn't win, and then there's a bigger conversation in the tunnel. But I've never been a part of a team where it's like you get into back and forth on the mound.
Other questions?
Yes, I have a question for Jeff Manto. So I did a little homework, and I saw that you hit 2 home runs in your first year, 1990 Cleveland. And I was at Yankee Stadium, and it blew out 17-3 Cleveland victory. In the 9th inning, you hit a 3-run home run. You hit 2 home runs that year. The question I have, was that your first home run in the major leagues or your second?
My first. It was off of Jimmy Jones. Matter of fact, I pinch hit for Deion James. We were in New York, and funny part, bringing up Jesse Orosco again. Back in the day, we used to have a batting tee inside the clubhouse. You can get loose. Now they have batting cages, and we're swinging off the tee. So Jesse Orosco came by, And he goes, hey, Jeff, man, your hands are way too far away from me. If I was throwing to you, I'd throw you inside because you can't hit that. Your hands aren't set up to hit this. And I'm like, all right, thanks, Jess. So Jesse Roscoe, again, I had 31 days. And so I listened to him. And sure enough, we were beating the Yankees, and all of a sudden they brought a left-hander in, and I pinch hit for Deion James again. And I got myself a fastball for Jimmy Jones. And like what Sid was saying, he had Vince Scully. I had the scooter. I had the scooter, announce my first home run. It was into the monuments. My whole family was there. We only live about an hour away from Yankee Stadium, so a lot of college friends were there. A lot of family was there. It was kind of cool. It was kind of cool. I still have that ball, and I tell that story at home. Pardon?
I still have the scorecard.
Oh, do you really? Oh, nice. Nice. That's
We'll
good
work out a
stuff.
deal. We'll work out a deal later.
Yeah.
Cully?
For any questions for people from Pittsburgh, should Nutting sell the team?
Absolutely. Again, but as a business person, when you're making $60 million, $70 million a year off your team, why in the world would he? But I think the only way that it's going to stop out there is if advertising money just says, hey, enough is enough. You need to do something here to get a team out on the field. And they did it in Chicago. They finally got enough of seeing bad teams in Chicago. They threatened them. They won a World Series with them. And it's the same thing. 35 years now, and they've had 3 teams that have been over 500 in 35 years. That's sickening. It's really sickening. So, I know that Nutting wasn't there for all that, but you need to do something more for the team, the city of Pittsburgh, for sure.
Sir? Yeah.
Sid, what is the thought process? You're with the Pirates, they're winning. You go free agent, and you go to the worst team in the league. They won.
Thank you for letting me tell that story. Let me just share with you. In 1991, we just lost to the Cincinnati Reds in the playoffs. And the very, very next day, Pittsburgh comes out and says, Sid Bream's our first priority to sign for the 1992-91 season. So it was 1990 we were lost to Cincinnati. And so we were ecstatic. My wife and I were ecstatic, thinking, man, we're going to get a long-term contract. For Pittsburgh, we got a great team. And so we started to go into negotiations, and for being their first priority, they didn't even get close to market price, let alone anything more for being their priority. And so we're thinking, you got to be kidding me. And so free agency came up. Atlanta gave me a great offer. And they said, you need to make a decision for this, before the night's over, because if you're not coming, we're going after somebody else. And so my wife and I said, hey, we're coming to Atlanta. But that whole night, literally, my wife and I cried our eyes out thinking we're leaving Pittsburgh. So the next morning I wake up, I called Jim Leland, my manager, and said, Skip, I said, am I bound to this contract? He said, Sid, you haven't put your name on it yet. You're not bound to it. So at that point in time, I called my attorney, and as I share with people, if you remember when Payne Stewart, the golfer, went down on his jet, my attorney was on that plane with him. But for an hour and a half, it was 2 calls, but for an hour and a half, he tried to talk me out of doing what I was going to do and stay in Pittsburgh. And then finally, at the end of one of our conversations, he said, well, what happens if you sign with Pittsburgh and they trade you down to Atlanta? You're going to look like an idiot. You signed for this amount of money, and you could have had this down in Atlanta. I said, great point. Let's go back to the Pirates and ask them for a no trade clause. And went back to the Pirates and asked them for a no trade clause, and they said no to a no trade clause. And I said, man, if I'm your first priority, I'd hate to see what your last one is. And so that's why I went down to Atlanta. It wasn't, really wasn't thinking anything at that point in time. They were the worst team in baseball. It was just the way the Pirates negotiated with me that, that really sent me down to Atlanta. And obviously it changed things for me as far as my life was concerned.
And a quick follow-up. So how did it make you feel the next 2 years you faced the Pirates in the NCAA?
Well, the first year, I can tell you, I hit my first grand slam against the Pirates. And if you would have looked at me in the dugout, you would have thought my grandmother died. I felt terrible. doing things against the Pirates. I mean, you know, obviously my competition factor wasn't going to just let me go up there and not do anything, but I felt for the Pirates. I said, man, how many chances are they going to have to get to the World Series? And so it really burdened me a little bit that not against management, but against my teammates. I mean, because I love my teammates. I love Jim Leland. I love my teammates. And so I was really thinking about them a lot. 1992 came, and a lot of that had kind of worn off a little bit, but still had some great friends in Pittsburgh. So that's why I went to Atlanta. I mean, a last place team.
Yeah.
Yes, this is for everybody. If you could give one piece of advice to a young person who is really serious about baseball, what would it be?
I would tell them that it's very, very difficult. You have a lot of ups and downs. You will lose sleep. You will stress out. You'll have a lot of anxiety because you're trying to compete at the highest level. Now, these amateurs today, they're working 5-6 days a week. Are you able to leave your friends behind? Are you able to not be able to go to a birthday party? Are you able to leave home? It's an extremely difficult journey to even get to college and get to pro ball and into the big leagues. And I think part of player development today that does not get talked about is that what I just mentioned. They talk about, oh, you got to get better, you got to throw harder, you got to feel the ball, you got to throw strikes, you got to make better contact. That's part of the problem, or part of the process. The other process is learning how to live by yourself, learn how to cook for yourself, learn how to deal with problems yourself. I remember, being on bus rides going 0 for 10, 0 for 15, and turning around and look at you're venting to the guy next to you. Today, they call their girlfriends. They go to YouTube. They have about 15 hitting coaches, 15 pitching coaches, all give them different advice. But they have to really be focused and understand that it's not easy at all.
And I would just say, I mean, again, Tommy probably knows the statistic, but I know it's close to 1 out of a million people become a Major League Baseball player. So as Jeff's talking about, the chances of getting there are slim. But my thing for them is work your tail off. I mean, just understand, some of you in here might remember Pete Rose's story, but Pete Rose was told, you're not going to make it, son. I mean, just go be a coach someplace. You're not going to make it. And he defied what people said, and he kept on working his butt off. And so you never know. You got to love the game. I mean, I think all of us in here would say you got to love the game. Don't be thinking about the money. It's not about money. But, I mean, you go out there, and to me, one of the biggest things is learn the game of baseball. I mean, most guys will go out there and they'll work on their swing, and then, maybe they're throwing a little bit. If they're pitchers, they'll work on that, but they don't learn the game of baseball, the instincts of the game of baseball, learning how to run bases, trying to get your speed as the best you can as far as your speed's concerned. Just working every day. If you're an infielder, working every day to throw that ball that it's going to hit the first baseman in the chest. I mean, these little leaguers today, I mean, they don't know how to throw that Volkswagen commercial. I mean, that dad, I don't know if you guys have ever seen that Volkswagen commercial where the dad's throwing with his off hand and he's throwing, and his son's doing the same thing. He said, way to go, son, way to go. So a lot of these coaches today are not teaching the kids the fundamentals of the game of baseball. I mean, a lot of these kids are throwing from down in here and, pushing the ball. They're not getting their arm up and so on and so forth. So, but learn the game of baseball. I mean, learn every aspect of it, and then just work your tail off. I mean, and hopefully, you'll have that chance to at least get to college, and then college will get you to the next step.
Cody, one final word of advice.
I would say, again, reiterate, you got to love it. I think one thing, you got to kind of a little bit take the emotions out of it. You almost got to kind of, put a period on the day and, forget about it. That was something I had to learn early on as being a relief pitcher, because I could be back out there the next day, and if I had a horrible night, I can let it roll over into the next. And go back to like both these gentlemen said, learn the game, work on it, be a master of your craft. I mean, some of the best advice I got, you would think would come from other pitchers or my pitching coaches. It would come from hitters. That's where I learned most of the instincts of the game, how to pitch, and that side of things.
Cody, Jeff, Sid, thanks so much for being here today and sharing your time and your expertise.
Thank you, guys.